Right. So now we are going to do. We'll design the Colpit oscillator, and another relaxation oscillator is a kind of relaxation oscillator is the unstable multivibrator. So there is two types of oscillators. I mean, one is the sinusoidal, and another one is the relaxation oscillator. Okay, so we are talking about electronic oscillator. That means we'll get some electrical signal at the output, that is sinusoidal or cosinusoidal, which will have some amplitude and the frequency. Okay, so obviously this is a self-sustained oscillator. It will not require any additional uh, AC signal. Okay, it will just work on the DC supply. So first thing we understand how we will build the electrical oscillator. I mean, without giving any signals, we are getting some kind of sine signal at the output. I mean, there is a mechanism which provide the. I mean, suppose you have the mechanical resonator, like suppose you have a cantilever scale or mass spring system. When you pull the mass spring, I mean mass of the spring, I mean mass is attached to the spring, it will start oscillating, right? That is a mechanical oscillator. So where you will see it will start decaying. I mean amplitude start decaying because there is some damping factors. At the end, it will stop oscillating. Okay, but somehow if we give the force, external force, whatever the energy is losing during the oscillation, if we provide by externally, then it will continue continuously oscillating. That means the forced oscillation. We are just forcing the oscillate at some frequency, or maybe it's natural frequency, which depend on the characteristics of the I mean mass is a spring system, that is a mass which is suspended and the spring of stiffness constant of the spring. But in the case of electrical signal, there is an analogy. So there should be some kind of resonator which resonate at some frequency. I mean, which will provide some oscillation at certain frequency range. Okay. Otherwise, the rest of the thing is, suppose you have a band pass filter, which you have studied in your previous experiments, where we have active filters, right? So where you have seen the band pass filter, which will allow only the certain frequency passes through the band, right? This is also a kind of resonator, which allows to pass the frequency at certain frequency range. That is, there is some band. So in your 12th standard, you have studied the RC resonator, sorry, LC resonator, parallel or series resonator, which allows to flow signal, AC signal at certain frequency. Suppose and the reactance will depend on according to the frequency. Okay, is that parallel or series? So this is the electrical resonator, which is equivalent to mass spring in mechanical domain. Now the thing is how we'll provide the obviously in the electrical resonator, obviously there will be some finite resistance. Suppose if I talk about LC, series LC. If we talk about series LC, this is the electrical resonator, and whose frequency will be f equal to 1/2 pi over LC, right? Okay, at which the reactance will be minimum or maximum, either it is a series or parallel, right? And that is why we are calling resonance condition at which it will resonate. So this is the electrical resonator. It will allow certain frequency, that is f equal to 1/2 pi LC. But practically what we got, there is some finite resistance which lost the flow of, I mean, which lost the energy, electrical energy. Okay. So if we provide energy by giving by giving externally, so it will start some kind of it will start oscillating. I mean, not start. It will sustain the oscillation. Actually, it will sustain the oscillation. So two things we need to design the electronic oscillator. first thing we need the electronic resonator, and the second thing which we need some amplifier or active circuit which provide the energy which is lost through the resonator, electrical resonator. These two things. So suppose I have some amplifier, okay, A, and this is a feedback network. Feedback network, which is nothing but a resonator. Okay, this is nothing actually. So this is the amplifier. Okay, sorry. So this is the kind of electronic resonator. Okay, and this is the amplifier. This amplifier will provide the energy to the resonator, which is losing due to some uh, resistance present in the resonator. So it will provide some kind of forced oscillation, right? Driven oscillation. Okay, and it will sustain the oscillation. And another thing is to understand the gain and the loop phase, which is very important to get the oscillation condition, which is known as the Barkhausen condition, which says two conditions. First is loop. This is the loop. A kind of output is some feedback through the resonator to the input of the amplifier. So loop gain should be infinity. That is closed loop, not closed loop. Okay, and the second thing is, obviously I'm talking about the closed loop, and the phase of the closed loop should be 0 or 360, or in term 2 pi n. It should be 2 pi n. Pi is the 180 phase, 180 degree in degree. Okay, and in the integer. So these two conditions should be satisfied to get the sustained oscillation. But the question is how the oscillation start? Why oscillation is start? I mean, who triggered the oscillation? There should be some perturbation which start the oscillation, and due to infinite loop gain. This is a mathematical interpretation. It doesn't mean it will have some infinite gain. Okay, mind it. Whatever the energy lost through the feedback network, that is a resonator, it will amplifier will provide that loss. Compensate the loss by giving the DC supply. Okay, so we will give the DC power supply plus VDC, which will give the loss. Compensate the loss through the which is loss occur across the feedback network. Okay, so these two condition is known as the Barkhausen condition. And another in another word, we can say, suppose resonator will have some positive resistance, R positive. Okay, so and the amplifier will provide the negative resistance to compensate loop resistance become 0. Loop resistance become 0. So feedback network will give some positive resistance, and if we design a kind of amplifier or active network, and which has negative resistance, okay, or negative impedance, so that whatever the positive resistance is here, which is compensated by the negative resistance. I'm telling this in term of resistance. Loop gain in term of resistance or impedance. Feedback network will provide the positive impedance, and the active network, that is here is the amplifier, will provide the negative impedance. So, and their impedance become equal. That means there will be no loss in the loop. There will be no energy loss. In the closed loop. This criteria should be met. Okay. But again the question is how we get the sine wave at the output. I mean, will provide the sine wave. Actually, this is the ideal condition. This is the ideal condition to get the sustained oscillation. But the who will provide this sine wave, or I mean oscillation will start at what? I mean, what will trigger to oscillator to start oscillating? This is the question actually. And I don't think I mean somebody of you maybe might be know about this. Anybody know?
Noise.
Noise.
Yes,
Noise.
sir. Initial noise.
Exactly, you are correct. So actually the noise is the here noise is the hero actually. In most of the cases noise is uh, actually undesirable thing. But here noise is playing the very important role. Suppose there is some noise. Obviously, thermal noise will present all across the circuit, everywhere in the circuit, right? So at the input, and we know the closed loop gain is the infinite. When the noise will come, it will amplify by some. Suppose there is n is the noise, and the output will be output of the amplifier will be n into a. A is the gain of the amplifier, right? So n into a. So here noise level this, here noise level will become this. Okay. So and it will pass through the feedback network, which is the band pass filter. So noise has the infinite bandwidth. It will contain the all kind of frequency, but the feedback filter will allow the only uh, desired frequency. I mean the resonator frequency through the feedback network. Again, it will sum up with the noise, and somehow not somehow. I mean, in each cycle, each every cycle, strength of the particular frequency. I mean, amplitude of the particular frequency signal will build up, and oscillation will start. Okay, and this is happening very fast. See, here is the circuit which I have already connected here. And here you can see the oscillation. We are getting the oscillation sine wave, right? Which in frequency is 18.8 kilohertz, right? If see, I'm just turning off the DC supply. I'm just turning off the DC supply. You will see what will happen. Okay. See, almost in a fraction of second, oscillation is built up. Sustained oscillation is built up. Okay, so it will take time it will happen within a millisecond. Okay, because frequency is kilohertz, right? 18 kilohertz. So obviously in the time scale, each cycle will complete in order of millisecond, right? So as we turn on the switch DC supply, we'll see immediately within a second oscillation is built up. I mean sustained oscillation is built up. Okay, so we'll not able to see in each cycle. Okay, when we'll see when the frequency will be very low. I mean 0.1 hertz, 0.5 hertz, or 1 hertz. I mean 10 second, 5 second, or 1 second. In that we'll able to see. Okay, oscillation is start building. Okay, so that is the thing. So we must remember this is the Barkhausen criteria. Closed loop gain should be infinity. Okay, A equal to A upon 1 minus A beta, something like. When beta is the feedback network, fraction of beta is the feedback network. When the A beta greater than or equal to 1, this is the condition actually. so that the 1 upon a upon 1 a upon 0, right? It will form the feedback gain will become infinity, right? You will get the mathematical expression for that. Okay, so this is the thing. And now come to the types of electronic oscillator. I mean, depending upon the feedback network, there are a variety of feedback networks. I mean, reactive filters, LC filter basically. When if I use 2C1L, we'll call it as a Colpit. Even P sometimes depend on the configuration. Sometimes it also called the Pierce oscillator. If we use 2 inductor, 1 capacitor, I mean the output is feedback to the input through the some voltage division. Okay, so voltage is feeding through the inductor, that is called as it is known as a Hartley oscillator. It depends on the scientist or what their configuration they used. Okay, on the basis of that, I mean their name is given to the oscillator. That is the thing. So the idea is only the we can play with the network, feedback network, and we can design any kind of any oscillators. Colpit, Hartley, Pierce. Even if we use the quartz crystal, right? Mechanical resonator. So it is also a kind of the it comes under the Pierce oscillator category. So we'll call it the crystal oscillator, which is usually I mean broadly used in the computer or like this kind of application like this DSO function generator and all, because crystal oscillator has very high phase stability and very low noise, and we can use crystal oscillator has also very high frequency, megahertz up to some gigahertz also. So for the high frequency, people usually prefer crystal oscillator. But the only thing is, by just playing with the feedback network, there will be amplifier. We can have any kind of amplifier, BJT amplifier, FET amplifier, right? MOSFETs, okay, CMOS amplifier. So any kind of amplifier we can use. But the thing is, if we are looking for the loop gain and the loop phase, so this condition should be met. If we are looking for the loop impedance, so feedback network will provide some positive impedance. There will be some C and L or quartz. Okay, so I mean piezoelectric material. So it will provide some finite impedance. So to compensate the loss, resistive part, we should have some negative impedance. Okay, of the active active device, which is the amplifier here. So these two things we can see. Okay. Okay. So in the experiment, obviously we are doing the Colpit of we are going to design Colpit oscillator. So if you see the circuit diagram, this block is nothing but the voltage divider C amplifier. R1, R2 is the potential divider for the biasing. Okay. This is R4 and RE. R4 is the nothing but the RC resistor, and RE is the emitter resistance. Okay, and C is the bypass capacitor. Okay, and the C in is the CB base capacitor, and C out is the capacitor at the output. Okay, just filter the DC part. Okay, now you can see this is the ground. So output is taken at across the C1 capacitor, which is fed through the L1 and C2, like that, like a pi filter, pi network type. Because C1, there is a common ground between C1 and C2. You can break it. This is also ground, this is also ground. And the output of the network, feedback network, is fed to the input of the amplifier. This is the feedback network. This is the active amplifier whose gain may be A. We can call it A, and this is the beta. Beta is nothing but the impedance. Okay, at the output, XC upon XL plus XC plus combined of the this XC total. And the frequency we can obtain, obviously the resonating frequency of this resonator, I mean feedback network, is given is f equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root L1 CT, where CT is the parallel combination. No, series combination, yes, because both are the grounded, right? CT is C1 C2 upon C1 plus C2. So this is the circuit diagram. There is the amplifier. You can compare with this basic, block diagram, amplifier and the feedback network. This is the feedback network. Instead of two C1, C2, we use L1, L2, and C. So it will become the Hartley oscillator. And if we use the quartz crystal instead of this, I mean, we'll give the output of the amplifier to the quartz input, and the another direction we can, of the quartz, we will take the output and we can fed into the amplifier. So we'll again start oscillating depending on the criteria, which is Markowitz criteria. This would be made. Otherwise, oscillation will not start. So practically, gain should be A beta should be greater than 2-3 times, so that there will be some another stray capacitance or impedance, and there is some losses present in the circuit, which can be compensated by making this greater than 2 or 3 something. Okay, in the practical circuit. Now come to the actual circuit. Here I am going to show you. So here I am using CL100S transistor, because this transistor has high beta, around 250 270 something. Okay, BC547 has beta is around 150 170, but CL100 has, this is also a NPN transistor. Okay, NPN BJT. Okay, with the metal case, but its beta is high. That is why I'm using this, because I need quite high gain, right? So beta is high, current gain is high of this transistor. That is why I'm using this. And if you see the circuit in this way, okay, leave it. So don't see this side, it's just see this part only of the circuit. Okay, this is the R1, this is the R2. Both are connected to the base, which is middle pin of the transistor, base R1 and R2. This is small one, this is R2, and this is the R1. Okay, this is the CE, and this is the not CE, this is the RE, and this is the RC. But here RC is the inductor. Instead of resistance, I am using inductor. Why I'm using this inductor instead of RC resistor, I will tell you later. Okay. Now, so this is and this is actually CE bypass capacitor. Okay. Here you can see this is the emitter, which is connected to the capacitor, and this red wire you can see is connected to the ground. This is the ground, black one, and this is a positive. No, this is the output of the oscillator. This is the positive. Right now I'm taking plus minus 15 now. So right now I'm taking 12, 13, around 12.8 volt. VCC and VEE. 12.8 volt is connected across the collector to emitter. This is VCC. Okay. And this is the capacitor, which is connected at the output. C out, or CC we can call VCC, collector capacitor. Now this is the output of the amplifier, and I'm going to connect here. Here you can see there is two C1 and C2 capacitors and one inductor. Here you can see black one is the ground, which is connected in the center of these two capacitor, C1 and C2, which is grounded through this wire, this black wire, which is grounded. And we can see the output output of the amplifier is connected to the one end of the C2 capacitor. This is the C2 capacitor. This is the C1 capacitor. Now I am going to connect it here. And this is the output which is connected actually to the input. So output of the feedback network is connected to the through this red wire, and this is connected to the black, and again is connected to the base. Seen here, I'm not using the scene because C is creating some kind of noise, so that is why we removed it. And the role of the C is just to filter the DC part. Okay, so through the network we are already getting the DC, AC. So there is not so much we need to connect it. What happened? Okay. So the circuit is almost connected. This is the feedback network, and this is the amplifier network. Amplifier network. I mean, amplifier circuit, and this is the feedback network. 2C and 1L. Output of the amplifier is connected to the input of the feedback network, and the output of the feedback network is connected to the input of the amplifier, C amplifier. Common emitter. What happened? Connection is loose. Yes. Okay. Actually, capacitor was quite loose. Okay. So we are getting the some sustained oscillation. Now the thing is, so the experiment part is just to design the Colpit oscillator and just take the, measure the frequency of the output signal, oscillator frequency, and just compare with the theoretical and the experimental. Theoretical means F equal to 1/2 pi under root L1 CT. And what we are getting here 18.89, this is experimental. Here we know the value of C1, C2, L1, L, and this L is actually nothing but the choke, this choke circuit. Here RC is the choke. Okay, what does it mean actually? Choke, obviously inductor will not allow to pass AC. Opposite to the capacitor, its behavior is opposite to the capacitor. It will not allow to pass the AC, which is oscillating signal, which can be disturbed the DC biasing, and it can come through this potential divider network, that is R1 and R2. So that thing we don't want, so that the operating point, that is the Q point, should not be disturbed. To avoid this, instead of R, we are using inductor. Okay, so reverse, it should not be affect the VCC, otherwise it will add up with the VCC. Okay, the amplitude, sinusoidal amplitude will add up with the VDC, that is VCC, and it will disturb somehow it will disturb the biasing of the amplifier. That is the thing we don't want. That's why we are using the choke circuit, which choke the AC. It will not disturb the DC biasing. Okay, that is the only use we are using this. Instead of RC, we are using the inductor. So it will provide just nothing with the reactive circuit, which will not allow to pass AC. So this is the use of the inductor here. So now we'll provide you here. We are using two capacitor whose value something around. Where is the calculation, Bida? We did the calculation yesterday. Theoretical and experimental. This one. Total C we have already calculated, right? Anyway, L is 47 millihenry, C1 and C2. So after getting the value of C1, C2, we can calculate the theoretical value of the oscillator frequency. Obviously, there is some C out. Big, which one? Small one? Big one, how much? 208 nanofarad. Okay, so that is actually 0.2, around 0.2 microfarad. And C2 is 3.39 nanofarad. Okay. So this is in the order of 0.2 microfarad and this is in an order of 3.39 nanofarad. So we can get the CT and L. So therefore, we, by solving this, by using these values, we can solve the and get the oscillator frequency. But I want to mention one thing. Obviously, there is C out capacitor and the stray capacitance also present. So obviously, the frequency will be lower of the theoretical value, right? So okay, so we will provide you data for the Colpit oscillator. And already some designing parameters values already given, like the C1, C2, R1, R2, R3, R4, L1. Okay, so if we change the inductor or capacitor C1, C2, if we change the value of the inductor or capacitor, we can change the frequency of the oscillator also. Depending upon, obviously, it will give some impedance. So the loop gain should always satisfy the loop gain should be infinity, and the loop phase always become 0 or 360. Okay, so there will be some limit. So we can slightly change in the value of inductor and capacitor. We can tune the oscillator frequency. Okay, the unstable multi-vibrator. Obviously, you have heard about the multi-vibrator, bistable multi-vibrator in the SR flip-flop when we were studying the, we were doing the experiment flip-flops. So I discussed a little bit about the bistable multi-vibrator. So in the bistable multi-vibrator, the output state can be stable at any high or low. That is the complementary output we can get. And by triggering or by forcing the inputs to change its state, that is why we are calling the bistable. Either this state or that state can be stable at an instant. But in the case of unstable, there is no stable state. Both the output will change. Flip-flop with some time period, right? That is called actually unstable. No state is stable. No, none of the state is stable. It will change by certain time period, on off, flip flop like that, and this is known as a unstable, which is very common state. So we will design this unstable mobility vibrator. Obviously, we will use 555 IC, timer IC, which is a very standard and well known IC. Okay, why I'm calling it timer IC? We can it has some various application for the time setting, to turn on some switch at certain time or turn off the switch at certain time. Okay, so before going to the exact, what is the inside of the 555 IC, we have already learned the op-amp, that is operational amplifier, and its application. We have seen the as a integrator, differentiator, adder, summing. Okay, and also we have seen the active filters using operational amplifier. And another example we can see, that is the comparator. Application of op-amp, that is the comparator circuit, which can compare the inputs, low or high and low. There will be obviously two inputs in the amplifier, operational amplifier. So we can compare both the inputs, and depending upon the inputs, comparing the inputs, we can get the corresponding outputs. Okay. So obviously, why I'm talking about this comparator circuit, because 555 IC has two comparators. Yes. This is the internal structure of the 555 IC. Here you can see the UC and LC. This is upper comparator and this is the lower comparator. It is nothing but the operational amplifier in the open loop mode. Okay, open loop mode, and obviously in both the inputs are comparing. Suppose this is a obviously open loop, so it will be in saturation mode. Whatever the input will give, because it has very high gain, so obviously it will be high or low type signal we can get at the output of the comparator, both the comparators. And why this IC is called 555 IC, 555 IC? Because there is 3 R registers, R, R, R. So these two comparators are somehow are coupled through these 3 registers. Here is the VCC is power supply is given, fixed reference voltage is given. It is given, upper comparator is given 2 by 3rd VCC voltage reference. Lower comparator is reference voltage is given 1 by 3rd. Suppose we are giving 10 volt here at the VCC. So right now upper comparator will have 6.66 voltage reference. If we give the control, here is the non-inverting. If we give the above the 6.6 volt, we will get some output. Otherwise, we will get some negative voltage. Okay. Here we are giving the 1 by here is the 1 by 3rd VCC is the reference voltage for the lower comparator. Obviously, above the 3.33 voltage, output will be non-inverted. Otherwise, output will be inverted. That is a minus. So obviously, we are providing plus minus 15 or plus minus 5 voltage to operate the op amp. So depending upon the saturation value, value will be present at the output, because this is an open loop. Okay. Obviously, so what is happening here? So the reference voltage we are deciding by providing these three resistors, which is nothing but 5K ohm resistors. So 5K resistors. That is why we are calling 555 IC, right? Its name that is came from this 3 resistors, due to 3 resistors, right? So structure, you can, if you see the structure, so there is here is 2 comparator and their output is connected to the SR flip flop. Okay, and the output of the SR flip flop is taking away the inverted, that is Q bar. Okay, and again here is the transistor NOT gate is connected, that is the inverter we are calling here to bias the, to fix the I mean to get the some stable output, I mean independent output source, which is controlled by the SR flip flop. I mean independent means what? Load independent. Whatever the load at the output, it will not drop the, I mean voltage should not be dropped at the output. And here reset circuit is given to reset the flip flop. So now I'm come to the pin number. 8 number is nothing but VCC pin configuration. I'm just telling the pin configuration. 8 number is VCC. 6 number is the reference, that is here it is calling a threshold. Reference voltage at 2 by 3, which is connected to pin number 6. And the 5 number is the control. And here similarly here pin number 2 is the trigger. We can adjust this 5 and 2 to change the logic of output. Okay. And the 7 pin number you can see, which is the actually grounded through this. Sorry. Okay. So 7 is connected to the ground. I mean this 3 resistor, and this is actually collector of the transistor, and depend on the inverter output. I mean input of the, output of the SR flip flop, which can be ground directly here, or we can adjust its reference also. I mean suppose you are operating plus minus 15 volt, so 7 can be 0 or minus 15 also, because the output will decide whether this transistor in cutoff mode or the saturation mode. If the transistor in saturation mode, that means the Q bar will be high, so that this will be connected directly to the ground. I mean this R. So here potential drop will be 0. Okay. Suppose if the output is 0, so there will be some discharge potential. I mean there will be some potential, and we can take this potential or connect this to pass through some load also. Okay, so we can adjust the reference actually. Whatever the VCC we are giving, so we can adjust actually by this 7 number pin. Okay, so this is very simplest structure of the 555 IC in the form of block diagram. In the actual circuit, obviously will be complicated. There will be obviously some very variety of transistors. I mean many transistors, right? Which form the upper comparator and the lower comparator. Obviously, there will be some digital circuit, which will obviously digital circuit for the SR flip flop. Obviously, again it will be some TTL logic based. Okay, or it will be obviously complicated circuit. So we are just showing the block diagram of internal structure of the 555 IC. So we will just remember which pin number. Okay, for what actually? I mean the functioning of the 555 IC by considering their pin numbers. So now if you see the manual, this circuit diagram is for the stable multivibrator, right? So pin number 4 and 8 is sorted and VCC is provided here. Why 4 is sorted? If you see the phone number, pin number 4, which is here, which is reset actually, which reset the, it is 0 because there is not is connected. So inverted form. Obviously, if we ground it, so each time SR flip flop will be reset. So that's why we are giving the high potential VCC, so that it will be a reset will be off. Okay, inverted form because there is bubble in form of this NOT gate. So that's why we are disabling this reset pin number 4 by connecting with the pin number 8. You can see this 4 number pin is connected to pin number 8, and 8 obviously is to provide the reference voltage to the comparators, both the comparators, right? That is VCC. Now here we can see pin number 7 is connected through the VCC through some resistor R. Obviously, here we are connecting the external resistor, which is actually nothing but RA. We are calling it RA through the VCC. So which fix the reference voltage. Suppose here is 15, here is 5 voltage through the resistor. So we can adjust this voltage to adjust the reference voltages, okay, of the comparator. So RA, which is connected to the 7. Now the pin number is 7 is also connected through RB resistor, and which is connected to the 6 number. Here you can see. Again we have connected another resistor to adjust or vary the reference voltages. So RB and RA are the resistor. We can externally adjust the reference voltages. Internally, 5K is connected to fix the references voltages of both the comparator. But externally, what we are doing, we are externally adjusting the reference voltages of the both the comparator by connecting RA and RB resistor. Again, if you see the pin number 2 is connected to the 6. What is happening here? Obviously, 2 is the non-inverted for the lower comparator, and the pin number 6 is the inverted. That is the reference voltage of the upper comparator. Both are the sorted. So that means obviously 2.3 2 by 3 VCC will be appear here at the pin number 2. And obviously here is the 1 by 3, here is the 2 by 3. So the difference voltage will be the 1 by 3. And that means it will be non-inverted. So R will be always non-inverted output will get. I mean high plus VCC, right? Not VCC, this VCC. VCC of the amplifier, operational amplifier. Now, and third pin number 3 is the output. And this pin number 3 is again connected to the capacitor, which is grounded. So the voltage will build across the pin number 6 through the capacitor. I mean voltage built up across VC voltage, that is capacitance voltage, will be built and will form the. I mean obviously when the capacitor will charge through the VCC, voltage across the capacitor will be built through the like exponentially charging time. Okay. after reaching some threshold voltage, so this upper comparator will trigger and it will make it burn as, and R will be at that time this will become the inverted. Okay, so I mean we are just giving the SR input, inverted input, by just capacitor charging or discharging, and it will happen obviously when it charge, it will reach the threshold, it will change the logic of the output of the flip flop. Again it will come down, discharge, it will start discharging through this path, through this internal circuit path, and capacitor will discharge. After reaching this 1/3 VCC, again it will capacitor will start charging. So the charging and discharging will be form of 2/3 VCC to 1/3 VCC. So capacitor will charge to from 1/3 VCC to 2/3 VCC, and after reaching 2/3 VCC, it will start discharging through the internal circuit of the 555 IC, and it will come, and the voltage drop will be, I mean voltage will come to the 1/3 VCC, and it will start discharging. Again the voltage will start to build up across the capacitor by its charging, and upper obviously that will happen continuously, and we will get some output logic, I mean output of the flip flop like 1010, that is a square or some pulse, will depend on the I mean duty cycle, how much voltage, I mean how much resistor we are applying here, the value of the resistor Rn and Rb. Obviously it will charge through the capacitor Ra and Rb. So charging time constant will be Ra plus Rb into C. So charging time, so tau C will be Ra plus Rb into C. Tau C is the time constant for the charging of capacitor, and discharging tau D, it will discharge through only Rb, okay, upper comparator, not through Ra. So RBC. So this will be the total time period, and the obviously so tau will become tau C plus tau D. So 1 by tau will define the frequency of the output, total time period of the output tau, and we can get the frequency. And the duty cycle we can adjust. Tau C is, if the tau C equal to tau D, then that means the duty cycle will be equal, 50% on time, 50% off time. So now come to this circuit which is already connected. We have already connected it yesterday. So obviously there is two capacitors. One part is left actually. Pin number 5, which is grounded through this very small capacitor. If you see the circuit, pin number 5. Where is the pin number 5? This one, control one, which is grounded through the capacitor actually. Okay, but to fix some voltage. Which is very low capacitance. So here is two capacitor used. One is the C capacitor. This is C capacitor. No, this is the C capacitor. Pin number 5. No, this is pin number. Oh, sorry, pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the pin. This is the capacitor which is connected through pin number 5, and which is another electrode is grounded of the capacitor. And this is the C capacitor. So let me check each components. So 8 and 4 are ground shorted. This is pin number 4. This is the pin number 8. Both are shorted. And the another pin number 2 and 6 are shorted. So pin number 2 and pin number 6 is shorted through this jumper wire. There is two jumper, 8 and 4 and 2 and 6. So both are shorted. Now come to the RA resistor. Now I have to identify RA resistor. So yes, pin number 8 to pin number 7 is connected RA. This is the RA, which is actually we are using 1 kilo ohm, red, black, brown. Sorry, brown, black, red. Okay, this is 1K resistor. Now pin number 7 is again connected to RB register and through the pin number 6. Okay, so brown, black, orange. Okay, so this is connected to pin number 7 and 6, between 7 and 6. This is RB register. Now pin number 2 and 6 is sorted, already sorted. Now from the pin number 6, capacitor is grounded. So this is the capacitor actually. 5 and 6. This is the capacitor C, charging discharging capacitor, which will define the frequency of the timer. I mean our stable output. And this is connected to pin number 6, 5 and 6, and which is grounded here. So this is the ground line. Okay. Now pin number 5. Here this red wire. 4. This is a 4. This is a 5. Okay. Make it yes. So which is connected here. Yes, this one through connected to this capacitor, which is low capacitor 0.33 nanofarad, and this again it is you can connect it directly here. This is more simplified. Now this is okay. So this is grounded, also grounded, and the pin number 1. So now come to the pin number 1. We can ground it directly. Yes, so pin number 1 is also grounded. Now we can connect this. So VCC, we can connect VCC, which is actually 4 and 8. So this is the VCC pin number 8. So this is the VCC, and the ground. And this is the ground. So I'm going to connect it here. Okay. So VCC is also connected. VCC is connected and ground is also connected. Now we are taking connecting the ground common. And now I'm taking output at the pin number 3. So here is the pin number 1, 2, and 3. See, we are getting some square wave. Yes. So frequency is 6.6 kilohertz something. So we are getting 6.6 kilohertz frequency. That means from low to high. This is the time period. This is vertical orange lines to find the time period. If we change the RA or RB, we can adjust the duty cycle or frequency, right? So it is showing almost 50% something. So we can, if we change the RB register discharging time, so we can adjust the duty cycle, right? For the different value of RB, we can show you. Suppose yes, right now it is RB is connected between pin number 7 and 6. Okay, so this is RB. So I'm going to change it. Let's turn off pin number 7 and the pin number 6. Initially it was 10K ohm, brown, black, orange. Now it is brown, black, brown. Very low resistor I'm using now. We have to be aware. We have to be careful. No wire should be shorted. Yes. See, but high time is become high, low time is become very low. So now, right now your duty cycle is almost 90% or greater because RV is become low, discharging time is become low. R is now low. Okay. So for different value of RV, we can adjust the duty cycle. And another example of this, another use of this timer IC is we can use it as a voltage controlled oscillator. Means we can vary the voltage at the input, and we can get the different frequency at the output. I mean, obviously this frequency on off time. I mean, we can adjust the duty cycle by varying the voltage. Okay, so that is why I'm calling it voltage controlled oscillator, VOC, right? So the circuit diagram of VOC is this one. By just removing this capacitor here, we have used this capacitor, right, from the pin number 5. Okay, so that is obviously this is the lower comparator, reference of the lower comparator, pin number 5. No, this is pin number 2. Where is the pin number? Sorry, upper comparator. So we can adjust the reference voltage of the upper comparator, and we can change the duty cycle of the at the output. That is the thing, nothing but. So we can. I'm going to use this potentiometer by removing this capacitor, this one, between 5 and ground, right? So I'm going to connect it with the. This is your timer IC. You can adjust the duty cycle by changing the RB register or RA resistance cell. RA will change the whole time, but the R will change the discharging time. And this is the kind of, actually this is the kind of the relaxation oscillator. It will depend on the capacitor charging and discharging. That is why I'm calling it relaxation oscillator. Okay, there is no loop and feedback network, something like. Okay, so output will depend on the capacitor, voltage across the capacitor. That is the difference between these two. Okay, so their working principle is completely different. Okay, I'm just taking. I want to show you another example of this 555 IC, which is VCU, by just changing the potential of the across. I mean, by changing the reference voltage of the upper comparator, we can adjust the duty cycle of the output, right? Of the 555 output. That is important. There is a controlling. No? So this will come. One will be the ground. Okay, and another will be the VCC, and the red will be the pin number 5, right? Okay. Yes, here you can see. We are getting some noise actually. Anyway, so here you can see we are just changing the resistance. See, you can see we are just changing the duty cycle actually. By changing the resistance. Right now, duty cycle is very low. I mean, very high, more than 95%. See, duty cycle is increasing. Anyway, so this is a kind of VSC circuit. And the experiment part is done. Okay. In the experiment, you can see the frequency of the Colpit oscillator, which is F equal to 1.4 upon C RA plus 2 RB. Obviously, you can get this frequency by getting the time constant, charging time constant, and the discharging time constant. You can get easily, right? You can, I mean, you can get the derivation for this frequency expression in the textbook. Okay, but the idea is charging through the RA plus RB into C, and the discharging through C into RB. That is why here is 2 RB. Okay, total time period. And obviously in the experiment, the only thing is for the different duty cycle we can trace the output for the different value of RB. Here is 3.3K, 10K, 18K. So the RB is different, so duty cycle will be different. Obviously inversely proportional frequency, so duty cycle is proportional to the RB. High RB, high duty cycle. So the experiment is actually done, demonstration part is done.